about 10 lakh candidates apply for. This means UPSC receives about 10 lakh applications for the preliminary exam. 2, about 5 lakh appear at the preliminary exam. So this number comes to 5 lakhs, so half. 3, about 15,000 appear at the main examination. This means in the preliminary examination, that is a screening test essentially, about 15,000 are selected out of about 5 lakh, and these 15,000 appear at the main examination.
Subscribe and press the bell icon so you never miss an update from PrepLadder.
Hello civil services aspirants. Whoever talks about career talks about civil services. Civil services, the dream career of the youth in our country. There is a huge number of Indian students studying abroad, and many of them are pursuing even engineering, medical science, etc. And they have opportunities there. There are many avenues open for them, but many of them want to come back and build their career in India. And if you ask the question, what career? Answer is, of course, civil services. So civil services attract even the Indian students pursuing their studies outside. Civil services aspirants are always curious and excited about civil services exam. They want to know its nature, they want to understand its pattern. In fact, they want all information about it. And there is so many questions. And in this sense, civil services exam appears as a pleasant and fascinating enigma to them. Let's unravel this pleasant and fascinating enigma. Let's discuss various facets of the civil services exam. First of all, I'm going to throw light on civil services and civil services exam. Take a look. Civil services, in a very simple word, refer to services that are non-military services or non-defense services. In other words, once you enter these services, you won't have any military or defense responsibility and task. You won't be holding military offices such as lieutenant, major, brigadier, lieutenant general, etc. This means the civil services are associated with civil function, such as administration, policing, development, etc., etc. And the exam that is conducted by Union Public Service Commission to recruit and to appoint people for civil services is civil services exam. And here the term civil services do not represent one single service. Rather, it incorporates many services. There are 20 plus services such as Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, Indian Foreign Service, Indian Revenue Service, Indian Information Service, Indian Railway Service, etc., etc. And there is one exam This means the exam term refers to one single exam, one single combined exam for all these services. And how do you get the services? Simple, on the basis of your rank and on the basis of your choice. Now the question arises, who is eligible for this exam? Let's consider that. As regards the eligibility parameters, the first thing important is a graduate. A graduate from any recognized university in any subject. And the second thing, what you're supposed to know is the age limit and number of attempts. Under the age limit and the number of attempts, there are various parameters. Three broad parameters I have presented here. One, 21 to 32. This means minimum age 21 and maximum 32 for the general category candidates. And they have 6 attempts. Means in this age bracket, they can avail themselves of 6 attempts. The second parameter is 21 to 35. This is applicable to OBC candidates, and number of attempts allowed for them is 9. This means in this age bracket 21 to 35, the OBC candidates can avail themselves of 9 attempts. And the third is 21 to 37, and this is applicable to SC and ST candidates, but there is no fixed number of attempts for them, so I am mentioning here no limit. So unlimited attempts. This means in this age bracket 21 to 37, the SC and ST candidates have unlimited attempts. They can keep on writing exam till they reach the upper age limit. Apart from these 3 broad, there are other parameters also for defense personnel, for physically handicapped people. Now let's consider the next aspect regarding the civil services exam. And next aspect is exam pattern. The civil services exam conducted by UPSC is in fact 3-stage exam. The first stage is preliminary exam, the second stage is main exam, and the third stage is personality test, commonly known as interview. So fundamental to the exam pattern is 3-stage exams, and the candidates are supposed to pass through first the first stage, that is preliminary exam, then the second stage, that is main exam, and then they have to appear at the personality test. So exam pattern represent 3 stages: preliminary, main exam, and personality test. Now I am going to throw light on each stage in detailed way independently. Take a look. So let's discuss first the first stage, that is preliminary exam. In preliminary exam, there are 2 compulsory papers. So we can say the first stage, that is preliminary exam, is 2 compulsory papers based exam. The first is general studies, and the second is the aptitude test. And here The first point is paper 1, and paper 1 contains several sections of general studies such as history, Indian polity, constitution, governance, geography, economics, etc. And in paper 1 there are 100 questions. The total marks is 200 and the time allotted 2 hours. Means in 2 hours you are supposed to attempt 100 questions carrying 200 marks. The second compulsory paper, that is paper 2, consists of 80 questions instead of 100 what you find in paper 1. But the level of marks is the same, that is 200 marks. And the duration for attempting 80 such questions is 2 hours. So the difference between paper 1 and paper 2 is the difference in the number of questions and difference in the nature of the question, because the paper 1 consists of various sections constituting what is called general studies, and paper 2 consists of questions related to general aptitude, such as questions on mental ability, reasoning, certain basic numericals, decision making, etc. And one important thing here is that paper 2 is qualifying, and this is what I have mentioned here. Qualifying, 33% you have to secure in order to qualify. This means in paper 2 you are supposed to qualify, but its marks won't be added in your selection in the preliminary examination. So your selection in the preliminary examination is solely based on the performance in paper 1. Besides, in the preliminary examination in both the papers, there is a provision for deduction of marks in case of choosing wrong options. And this is what I have mentioned here. Deduction of marks, and that is 0.33%. This means one question wrong, you lose 0.33% mark. And the preliminary exam is essentially a screening test. A huge number of aspirants appear and a small lot is selected for entering the second stage, that is the main examination. And the nature of the preliminary exam is objective. Here the questions are multiple choice questions. So a question is there and 4 choices are given and you are supposed to select the correct choice here. And this is applicable to both paper 1 and paper 2. Let's consider the second stage. The second stage is main examination. And this stage is quite comprehensive. As you have come to know, in preliminary examination, there are 2 papers. But in the main examination, there are many papers. And I have presented all the papers that constitute the main examination. So here, there is one paper, that is essay paper. It carries 250 marks and 3 hours duration is there. And after that, second, third, fourth, and fifth. These 4 papers are general studies papers. So general studies, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4. So this is quite comprehensive. And each paper contains some specific sections of general studies. Paper 1 contains history, culture, social issues, Indian society, and geography. Paper 2 contains Indian polity and governance, social justice, international relation, and international organization. Paper 3 contains economy, science and technology, environment, internal security, and disaster management. And paper 4 contains ethics, integrity, and aptitude. So here we'll find a great variety is there and quite comprehensive in nature. Each paper carries 250 marks and you have 4 papers. This means the general studies part carries 1000 marks. Now, the next number 6 and number 7. These are the 2 papers related to the optional subject. This means in optional subject there are 2 papers. Each carries 250 marks and the 3-hour duration is applicable to all the papers as you find here. Now, with respect to the optional subject, one thing important to know is that UPSC provides a list of a large number of optional subjects like history, geography, sociology, philosophy, and so on. There are subjects associated with humanities, there are subjects associated with science, there are subjects associated with literature. You have to select any one of them. This means out of the list. And each optional subject consists of 2 papers as I have mentioned. So the total marks in the optional subject is 500, 250 plus 250. And apart from this, next there is a scheduled language paper and there is English language paper. In these 2 cases you find the total marks are different. There are 300 marks each. Now, considering all these papers that constitute the main examination pattern, reveal certain things. One thing, that in every paper the 3 hours a duration provided. And essay, general studies, and in optional subject, each paper carries 250 marks. But the paper on scheduled language and English carries 300 marks. One more thing important here to know. The last 2 papers, the scheduled language paper and the English language paper, they are qualifying in nature. This means their marks are not added in the ascertaining of the merit. So merit is prepared on the basis of the marks what you obtain in essay, all the 4 papers of general studies and 2 papers of the optional subject. So the nature of the main examination suggests that plenty of things are there what you're supposed to prepare and work on. And that include various sections of general studies and various sections of your optional subject. Besides, you have to write essay. Besides, you have to write answers, what you find in your language papers, English and scheduled language. Now let's consider the third stage. And the third stage is personality test, commonly known as interview. It carries 275 marks. Personality test, as the name suggests, is truly a personality test. It is not test of your knowledge, because your knowledge is tested in the main examination. A lot of knowledge is tested there. There is no need of further testing. So personality test is, in fact, personality test. What is personality? The way you wear clothes, the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you handle issues, how confident you are, how pleasant you are, etc., etc. These all constitute your personality. And these personality traits are tested in the personality test. So under this, you are supposed to sit before a board consisting of certain members, and they put different kinds of questions before you. They engage you for the period of about 25 minutes to 50 minutes. And by doing all this, these members come to know about your personality and give you marks. Many candidates think that since in the personality test, the members tend to ask many factual questions and many questions that required a specific knowledge, or sometimes even a specialist knowledge. So this is a test, something like what they have already appeared at, because in the main examination also there is a test of knowledge. The only difference is that in the main examination you're supposed to write down the answers, and here you're supposed to give answers orally. But no, this is not the test of knowledge. And I have already said that after testing your knowledge in the main examination, UPSC wants to know about your personality traits as well, whether they are suited for civil services or not. So this is all about the 3 stages of the civil services exam. So what the basis of selection finally? Because first you write the preliminary exam, then you write main examination, then you appear at the personality test. Finally, selection how? Let's consider that. The basis of selection. As I have said, the first stage, that is preliminary exam, is just a screening test. You're supposed to pass out in order to write main examination. Simple. Now, in the main examination, representing the second stage, you have come to know, there are 2 papers, one scheduled language paper and second English language paper. These are qualifying in nature. So in ascertaining your merit, the marks of these 2 papers are not considered. Now, so what is left? Marks of essay paper, marks of 4 GS papers, and marks of 2 papers related to optional subject, plus marks of the personality test. Let's consider that. So the basis of selection is 1, your main examination marks, that is 1750 marks. This is excluding the English language paper and scheduled language paper. And second, the marks of the personality test, that is 275 marks. 275 marks. So 1750 marks plus 275 marks. They constitute the basis of your selection. So now in a very simple way, you can understand one thing, that your selection depends upon the marks you obtain in the main examination, excluding language paper marks, that means scheduled language paper marks and English language paper marks, and marks you obtain in the personality test. So this is all about the basis of selection. And this gives you one very, very important piece of idea, that in preparation, your whole focus should be on 1750 marks and 275 marks. Now let's consider the entire journey from the time you apply to appear at the preliminary exam till your selection, and the number of civil services aspirants involved in this journey. Note the title here, Application to Selection. Application means when you apply for, and this application is for appearing at the preliminary examination. And selection means you qualify finally. This is a long journey. This journey involves the period of about 1 year. The preliminary examination is held normally in May, June, and the main examination in September, October, and personality test the next year, March, April. This may change also. This is subject to change from time to time, but normal trend is this. So this involves almost a year, you can say. And what is the number of candidates that pursue this journey? So I presented a rough data here. Number one, about 10 lakh candidates apply for. This means UPSC receives about 10 lakh applications for the preliminary exam. 2, about 5 lakh appear at the preliminary exam. So this number comes to 5 lakhs, so half. 3, about 15,000 appear at the main examination. This means in the preliminary examination, that is a screening test essentially, about 15,000 are selected out of about 5 lakh, and these 15,000 appear at the main examination. Next, about double the vacancy appear in the personality test. Suppose the number of vacancies is about 700, so about 1500. Number of vacancies 800, so about 1700. This is rough data, in fact, I am giving you. And last, about 700, 800 are finally selected. This data is a rough data. This is subject to change. But as per the today's trend, we find that the number of candidates applying for and the number of candidates roughly appearing at preliminary and then appearing at main and final selection, and number of vacancies also around 700-800 today. So this can serve, as you can say, a broad guideline for you, because on the basis of this you can understand this long journey and how much you have to exert yourself and to what extent you have to work. And since this is a competitive exam, so how competitive is this exam and what are the prospects? I mean, so many things you come to know in the light of these statistics. Now I'm going to discuss certain FAQs, frequently asked questions. I have already said that the civil services aspirants are always inquisitive, always curious, always fascinated about civil services exam. They want to know many things. They raise many questions. And the list is quite comprehensive. But I have presented here some dominant FAQs. And my aim is to give you the answers of these FAQs. And these answers will also give you a broad idea about this exam. So let's consider them one by one. So first one, all attempts in consecutive years. In fact, I have presented the central idea or the theme of the FAQs. So the theme of the first, that is all attempts in consecutive years, is that whether a candidate is supposed to write the exam in consecutive years, because you have come to know that the UPSC provides you many attempts. Suppose for general candidates, 6 attempts are there. So does it mean that one general candidate is supposed to write the exam in consecutive years, I mean continuously? Suppose one general candidate writes the exam in 2022. Does it mean he or she should continue writing the exam in 2023, then 24, 25, till he or she exhausts the attempt? So answer is no. Choice is yours. Within the age bracket, you are supposed to write the exam. For the general category candidate, this age bracket is 21 to 32. So within this age bracket, you are supposed to make your attempt, whatever year. Second is missing age limit by a small margin. The theme here is that if a candidate misses the age limit by a small margin, age limit means minimum and upper. So if a candidate misses the age limit by a very small margin, even 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, so does UPSC allow? Answer is no. Even if you miss this for 1 day, you won't be allowed. Next one is foreign university. Theme here is that if a candidate acquires the graduate degree from a foreign university, is it applicable? Answer is yes. If it is a recognized one, it is applicable. The simple thing you should keep in your mind is that you should have a graduate degree. Next is DLP, Distance Learning Program or Correspondence Program. The theme is if one has graduated pursuing distance learning program or correspondence program of any university. So what about the eligibility criteria here? This means such candidate pursuing distance learning program or correspondence program from any university, and finally acquiring a graduate degree. is eligible. So whether you become a graduate following a regular course or you become a graduate following a correspondence course or distance learning program, this hardly matters. You should be a graduate. Next one is year gap between 2 degrees. This means if there is a year gap between 2 degrees, suppose your 10th, your 12th, or your 12th and your graduation. So this gap matters? No, this gap doesn't matter. What matters is you should be graduate. Next one is or attempt relaxation for government employees, union government or a state government. This means do government employees, state government employees or union government employees get some age relaxation here? Answer is no. Age relaxation is only for OBCs, SCs, STs, physically handicapped, certain criteria are there, and some ex-servicemen, certain criteria. Number 7, attempt in other exams conducted by UPSC. UPSC conducts many exams. Now the theme here is that if a candidate appears at any other exam conducted by UPSC, so that attempt would be also counted here when that candidate appears at civil services exam conducted by UPSC. Answer is no. Here only those attempts are counted associated with appearance at the civil services exam. And here one more thing important. When you apply for, this is not counted as attempt. As you have come to know, about 10 lakh apply for initially in order to appear at the preliminary exam, but about 5 lakh appear. So there is a difference here between you apply for and you appear. So when you appear at the preliminary exam, only then the attempt is counted. The next one is the last one, that is number 8, third division or low marks. Many candidates are concerned with their past records. Many have not performed very well in class 10th or class 12th or in graduation. Many have secured even third division. Many have secured very low marks. So they are concerned that whether third division or second division or low marks in 10th class or 12th class or graduation matter. Answer is no. Answer here is your performance here matters. Here means in these 3 stages. Your past performance does not matter. And now I'm going to throw light on that finally what is important with respect to the civil services exam and with respect to qualifying the civil services exam. The only important thing is you are eligible and you perform brilliantly. Nothing else. In other words, you meet the eligibility criteria or parameters. That is what I have discussed. And you perform brilliantly in all the 3 stages as per the demand of the exam. Your past records, past performances, past results, past marks, etc. they do not matter. So you have to come out of this past obsession. Your past performance may be very bad. Maybe you have secured very low marks in your graduation. But finally, what matters is your performance here. So the only important thing with respect to the civil services exam and qualifying civil services exam is be eligible, make sure you are eligible, and perform in excellent manner, exactly the way the exam demands. Wish you to be a hardy and hopeful civil servant and wish you a grand success.